I'm Monica Cito, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a feral cat winter shelter like these ones here. Today I'm going to be showing you exactly how to build a feral cat winter shelter. So before you get started building your shelter, you will need to gather some supplies. You will need everything that's set out here. You need a plastic tote. You will need black tubing, 6 inches in diameter, Gorilla tape, duct tape. If you're going to be making more than one tote, I would suggest making some templates. That can be quickly done using cardboard, Sharpie, an X-Acto knife, tape measurer, 3/4 inch Dura foam, as well as a jigsaw or circular saw to cut out your hole there in the tote. So these are the totes that we use to make the shelters. They don't have to be Rubbermaid as long as they're plastic. We do try and stick to a more neutral color. We just don't want it to stand out when it's out there. We find that the 68-liter size is a good size for 1, maybe 2 cats, depending on the size of your cat and how friendly it is with other cats. Maybe a mom and her kitten might be able to snuggle in here. If you're just going to be creating one shelter, you can just measure the tote and cut out your pieces like that. However, if you're making more than one, we would suggest creating a template using some cardboard pieces. So you just measure the inside of your tote, keeping in mind that there is 3/4 inch insulation around the inside of the tote. So when you're measuring that, just keep that in mind. 1 piece for the floor. You need 1 piece for the ceiling. You're going to need 2 pieces for each of the shorter walls, and then again 2 pieces for the longer walls. And this is 3/4 inch Dura foam that can be purchased at any home building supply store. And the sheets actually come in 4 feet by 8 feet sheets, so make sure you've got the space in your car to take those home. So this is the tubing that you will need for the entrance for your shelter. It's made of black corrugated plastic. We do purchase this from a company called Armtech in Orangeville. They do come in 100-foot rolls, so unless you're building quite a number of them, you probably don't need that much. You should be able to purchase it though in any home building supply store, and just keep in mind it's a 6-inch diameter. So you will need Gorilla tape, which is a stronger, more weather resistant. You'll be using this on the outside of the tote because it will be sitting in inclement weather, so you're better off using this as opposed to duct tape that you will use all on the inside of the tote. You'll need a Sharpie to draw your hole and a measuring tape to measure all of your foam pieces as well as your circular hole on the outside. You will also need straw to help insulate your shelters. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is cut your hole. So you want to use a template for whatever you're using for this hole. So whether it's your corrugated piece of plastic, you'll want to use the outside ring. You'll notice here it sort of has valleys and troughs there. You want to make sure you measure around the valley here, so the largest part of the tubing. You'll want to use your Sharpie and draw all the way around the tubing. Now we sort of say halfway, closer maybe to the top of the tote, because this is going to be sitting up on a surface. So you just make sure that no snow or anything gets into the tubing. You want to set it up a little bit higher. So you just draw your circle as your template, and then you would take your circular saw or your jigsaw and you would cut that template out. A tip that's helpful is maybe using a hair dryer and heating up the plastic to make it a little bit more pliable and easier to work with. So this is your piece of plastic tubing that you will use as the entrance for your shelter. How you're going to cut these pieces, actually an X-Acto knife works really well on this. If you use a bigger piece of machinery to cut your pieces, it tends to wobble, so it's not as efficient as using an X-Acto knife. And you're going to be cutting 6 rings, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's the length that you will need. so the next step you'll need to do is to cut your Dura foam. So you will need a floor piece to sit in the bottom. You'll need 2 longer wall pieces that sit like so in your shelter. And then 2 shorter pieces for your short walls. And then your ceiling piece that goes on top. Now, make sure when you are cutting the Dura foam that you're cutting it properly, because they do need to fit properly in the tote and they need to fit snug. And the tote itself is not quite a rectangle. It's sort, as you can see, it's sort of tapered. So you will have pieces that are slightly tapered on either side. If you are making more than one shelter and you need to create templates, these are great templates just made out of cardboard. And you can just measure ahead of time your tote using the cardboard. So after you've cut all your Dura foam pieces, the next step would be to place those pieces into your tote. You want to make sure you place them reflective side in so that it reflects the cat's body heat back onto it. You want to take lengths of your duct tape, not your Gorilla Tape, on the inside, and tape up all the seams, so along the floor and the sides, as well as the tops of the foam and on your ceiling piece. So any exposed foam you're going to want to tape up with your duct tape. And make sure that the top is level so that all your pieces are sort of the same height, because you want that ceiling piece to fit nicely and snug on top. You don't want to have any airspace coming in. So it's really imperative to keep drafts out and to make sure that everything is sort of seamless in there. So after you've got all your pieces taped in there, you're going to notice that there's a nice hole here, but there's no hole in your Dura foam. So you take your X-Acto knife and you're going to just cut exactly right around the outside of the hole here, and that cuts right through your Dura foam, and then that will give you a nice empty spot to stick your tubing there. So after you've cut your hole in the side of the tote, what you want to do is stick your piece of plastic tubing into the hole. You want to make sure that there's 2 larger pieces inside, so of the larger lips there, place inside, and the rest will just come outside. And then what you're going to do is cut lengths of Gorilla Tape now and make slits up to the middle of the tape. Because it's a round circle that you're going to be placing the tape, it's just easier that way. So just cut your slits and then place your tape all the way around the tubing there, as well as on the inside. You want to do the same thing on the inside. So cut your slitted tape, place it all around the inside, and this will hopefully secure the tubing so that it doesn't move or wiggle at any point. With your tubing, you can also sand these edges using any kind of sander, just to sort of, because they tend to be kind of rough after you cut them. So you can either tape around the edges or you can sand the edges if you wish. So after you've assembled all the pieces, you'll want to fill it about 3/4 high with straw. Notice I said straw and not hay, as this is the best material to use in these shelters. Straw does not hold moisture. If you use the greener material called hay, it will actually hold moisture. So if the cat drags in any snow during the winter, it's not good for the cat to be sitting in the cold, wet hay. So straw is the best material to use in these shelters. So the last thing you'll need to do is put a sign on the top of your tote using Gorilla Tape to tape around the edges, or you can use a glue gun if you wish. We use this sign here and we laminate it and we put it on top just to sort of deter anyone that sees these shelters out there and wonder what they are. It sort of gives a description and lets them know that this tote is managed by a feral cat colony worker, and where to go if they need any more information. And that's how you build a feral cat shelter. So thanks very much for help creating another warm spot for another feral cat in Ontario. For more information, please visit us at OntarioSPCA.ca, or for more information on workshops, feral cat workshops, and how to get involved, visit feraltoronto.com. Birds cannot live on seed alone. In fact, most birds should be on a diet of high-quality organic pellet and a variety of fresh fruits, vegetables, and grains. Adding fruit and vegetables